Good morning. It's lovely to be here with you. Have you noticed how people are creatures of habit? Whether it's squeezing your toothpaste, putting your shoes on, going to bed, whatever it is, you turn it into a ritual. And it has to be done the same each day. And it's true also in the church. We have the Methodist hymn sandwich, and we expect the preacher to go and up into the pulpit for half an hour. And we sing the same hymns, and we sit in the same position in the pews. And even with lockdown, we're inclined to do the same thing. We turn it into a ritual. I mean, I sit here each Sunday participating in the service. But it doesn't have to be a ritual. We can do things differently, and I'd like to take a page out of the story of Pollyanna. Remember Pollyanna, played by Hayley Mills? And she managed to convince the local minister that instead of preaching for an hour on the wages of sin and hell and damnation, there were better things to do with her time and his time. And it's true for us. Maybe there is something better for me to do than to preach on the wages of sin. Now, come a Sunday, then instead of looking at the tablet, you'll find that my eyes are inclined to wander. Yeah, I listen, but I don't actually look at the tablet so much unless there are responses that we need to make. And the reason for that is that this is what we can see from that seat. This is our garden. And it is a joy to sit in it and enjoy it. And I like to share this garden with you, not in the sense of showing it off like Chelsea, but because people are very much like plants, and plants are very much like people, and you can get good ideas about things. And so here at the moment we're in between seasons. We say goodbye to the spring flowers, and the summer flowers are only just starting to come. But we've got some poppies there. We've got the daylilies. We've got the pyracantha over there, all prickly. And you can, I'm sure, already think of people that you know who are like poppies, like pyracantha. And behind it all you have May Hill, the local landmark. You can see it from Worcester, you can see it from the M1 and M5 down at Bristol, you can see it from Birdlip, you can see it from Clee Hill right up beyond Bromyard. And you've got those trees planted on the top. The first was planted for Queen Victoria's Jubilee, and now the smaller ones for Queen Elizabeth's Silver Jubilee. And it's lovely. We're so fortunate. So I want to look at various plants and see what we can learn from them. And I'd like to introduce you to this one. This is a blueberry. The flowers are over, and if you look carefully, you'll start to see that the fruit is already appearing. And it's planted in a pot because it's ericaceous and it doesn't like acid soil and it doesn't like tap water, so you have to water it with rainwater. And there's something very special come on August morning to come out and pick your blueberries and put them on your cereal. That is provided that the blackbirds haven't been there and eaten it already. And this one is so big that it is a bit difficult to actually get the netting over it. I have another one here. This is also a blueberry, but I don't know really why it is as it is. There are one or two fruit growing on it. I don't know whether the roots have been damaged or what it is, but we water it, we feed it, and try and encourage it to grow. So a small one and a large one, and in true Goldilocks fashion, we've got another one here, which is about in between size, and again, it is in fruit. And we look forward to eating that. Now you can't ever have too many blueberries, so I've got another one here. And it is, yes, it looks vigorous and great, but if you look very closely at it, you discover that in fact the fruit is right down at the bottom. And in fact, what has happened is that this looks like all this growth, I think, is a sucker. But I'll give it till next year, and if it doesn't bear fruit next year, then I'll have to cut it out so that the good stock can grow properly. And while we're in lockdown, and as we contemplate and as we enjoy, we can think about for ourselves how we need to be fed, how we need to bear fruit, how we can minister to one another. And if there are things that need to be changed in our lives, then now's an opportunity to think about that. But it's not only it's internal things, it's also the way things happen to us and the way people suffer. And it gives me great pain that suffering isn't spread across and everybody gets the same little bit of it. But some people live a charmed life and other people seem to get problem and difficulty after difficulty. And it's so sad. Now we've got a camellia here, and about 4 years ago, in that hot summer, we were away and it wasn't watered as it should have been. By the time we got back, it had turned brown, totally brown, and we thought it was dead. But we did still throw a bucket of water on it occasionally, and the next year there were slight signs, and if you scratched the bark you found that yes, there was green underneath, and slowly over the next few years it has grown and has come back, and we have had a magnificent display. It's just about over at the moment, but we've had all the flowers of this camellia, and it's been absolutely glorious. So it's not just what happens to us that we need to think about, but it's how we respond to those things and how we can still, despite all the pain and the difficulty, provide flower and provide beauty. Now, 2 more things and then we'll move on. I am very partial to rhubarb, and so when we moved here, my wife discovered that somebody was selling rhubarb, so she bought this. This is the rhubarb. This is exactly like it was, in a plastic bag, some funny little bit at the bottom there, and then just a rather pathetic leaf on the other end. And being a good husband, I said, "Of course I'll plant it, my dear," but I really didn't think it would survive. And so we watered it and we looked after it, and the amazing thing is that 10 years later it is going a bomb. Tucked away in the corner of our raised beds here, it just keeps on giving and giving and giving. We've already taken a great pile of rhubarb off, and yet here we've got it, and we're still missing. It would be higher, bigger than this if it hadn't been so dry. And when we force it, we have to use the black bin to fit it all in so that it actually grows. Tom and Judith, they also got one of these corms at the same time, and Tom planted it planted it in his allotment, and it's grown and grown, and he now supplies most of the ladies at Christchurch who live in flats with rhubarb on a weekly basis. So again, the message I get from the rhubarb is that things can grow in ways that we don't expect. And maybe our faith is very small, but yet great things can grow. And finally, I want you to meet this plant. This is a wild orchid. And a wild orchid you're not allowed to dig up and transplant. But a friend of mine took his plant pots, put nourishing soil in them, and then just left them in the orchard where the wild orchids grew. And in a year he discovered that the seed had landed into the pots and there were wild orchids growing. And I too now have discovered that from the fruit of the plants from this orchid now are spreading across, and we've got them growing here. And again, the challenge for us is that if we are faithful, if we prepare the soil properly, then God will actually provide unexpected things. Well, I suppose it's about time we carried on with the service. But I think I'll just sit and contemplate for a moment.